Morning, I'd like to call the Board of Education business meeting to order. Could I please have a roll call?
Klett.
Present.
Guard.
Aye.
Wilson.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Sanchez.
Here.
Wong.
Present.
Charles.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Okay, and now if I could have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second, Ms.
Sec-
Guard?
Second.
Any discussion, Ms. Guard?
Tonight we're supposed to have a presentation on the update of our strategic plan and goals. And I'm wondering if we could have an amendment to our agenda to postpone that discussion, because there's quite a few things on the agenda, and we have time to go back into our other meeting after this meeting, just for a time issue.
Also, one of the presenters was not able to be here due to an emergency, so it would actually.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda as amended by Ms. Guard, say aye.
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 Are we voting online, Michelle?
I am not.
Okay, any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved as amended. And now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a student to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Here they come. Go right up here. Go right up here.
Hi, can you tell us your name, please? I'm sorry?
Violet Miller.
Violet Miller. And what school do you go to? Gaston. Who's your teacher? Miss Taylor? Well, welcome. Thank you so much. Is this the second person that's going to... Okay, what is your name? I'm sorry? Layla. And do you go to Gaston also? Who's your teacher? Miss Mitchell. So Miss Taylor and Miss Mitchell sent students today. Thank you so much for being here with us. Would you like to turn and say the Pledge of Allegiance while we join you? Thank you. Thank you both very much. Okay, now we have announcements. Who's going to be reading announcements tonight? Are you, David? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here with us this evening. We've got quite a few announcements. Thank you, Mr. Vissers, for putting this together for us. So this is February 26, 2019 board announcements. And this is expo season for the School District of Beloit, so there's quite a few expos listed here. So BMHS is holding their expo night on March 5th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the Field House. Fruzen Intermediate is having their Winter Orchestra concert on March 5th at 7 p.m. Cunningham Intermediate is having an Eat Wings fundraiser on March 6th, beginning at 11 a.m. to midnight at Buffalo Wild Wings. The Beloit Memorial High School Spring Musical is The Drowsy Chaperone. Opening night is Friday, March 8th at 7:30. Other performances are March 9th at 9:30 p.m., March 15th at 7:30 p.m., March 16th at 9:30 p.m., and the final performance March 17th at 2 p.m. A reminder, there is no school for students on Friday, March 8th. It's a teacher professional development day. McNeil Intermediate School Expo Night is on March 12th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The Women's League of Voters for Beloit and the NAACP are hosting the School Board Candidate Forum on March 13th at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. Cunningham Intermediate School is holding a math and literacy night on March 14th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Fruzen Intermediate Expo, March 14th, 5 to 6:30. Beloit Memorial High School Spring Band Concert on March 18th at 7 p.m. at the Grand Avenue Pub. Converse and Todd Elementary Schools are holding their expo nights on March 21st. Converse is holding their expo night 4:30 to 6 p.m. and Todd is 5:15 to 7:15 p.m. The Beloit Memorial Spring Choir Concert is March 25th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Hackett Elementary is holding its expo night on March 26th from 3:30 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. Merrill Elementary expo night on March 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. And the end of third quarter is March 29th. And most of all, the spring athletic teams will be holding their first game toward the end of March, so please see the Beloit Memorial High School webpage under the athletics heading for a full schedule of events. There's no backside.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And now we have donations, recognitions, correct? Donations to the school district?
Yep. Good evening, Madam President and school board members, as well as community members listening online and on Public Access TV. We have a slew of them. I'm going to start with the January recognitions. We had, unfortunately, had to cancel the meeting due to weather. So our first one tonight is Central Christian Church. Right before the holiday break, they came in with a whole bunch of winter jackets, scarves, and hats. So for their generous donation to the school district, I would like to recognize Central Christian Church. And then also right before the holiday break, Durham School Services, who does our busing for the district, they also brought in winter jackets and food supplies for the holiday. So thank you to Durham School Services for that. All right, our next recognition is Deep Patel. He has recently been awarded the Horatio Alger Scholarship. And then just before the meeting was supposed to happen in January, we were also notified that he was recognized as the Rotary Club's Student of the Month for January. And by the way, he's going to go to Marquette University and study to become a dentist. I got that from when I interviewed him for the story we did on him for our newsletter.
Mr. Vissers, could I interrupt and ask you just quickly to tell us about the scholarship and what he did to be awarded the scholarship?
Why don't you come right up here and you can tell them yourself.
Thank
Hi. So you asked what I did to win the scholarship?
Tell us about the scholarship and how you were awarded.
Miss Wolf, our counselor at school, sends us like scholarships every single week. So this is one of them, and I was like, okay, I'm eligible for it. So I sat down one day, and the questions, it was like 6 supplemental questions, and each one was just kind of a little different aspect of your life, but it was focused on adversity. So I talked about a few of the adversities I faced in my life, and how I've grown from those, and how they've helped me become who I am today. And so my story was a little bit unique. It talked about how my parents and I grew up within our business, and how that 24/7 working and living at your home kind of affects family life and school, and juggling between the various aspects of that. So kind of just talk about that, and one day I just got a call, and I actually originally thought it was a telemarketing call. So she called like 3 or 4 times because it was like a 1-800 number. So I was like, I'm just not going to answer. So then eventually at the end of the day, I answered for like the 5th time. I was like, hello? And she's like, you just won the scholarship. So yeah, so that's how that happened. And then after that, that was pretty much it.
How much was the scholarship, and where can you use it at any school?
Yeah, so it's $25,000, and it has to go towards a bachelor's degree. And what else is there? And an all-expense paid trip to Washington, which I'll be going in this spring break. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations,
All right,
Steve. We're
thank-
really proud of you.
All right, thank you.
All right, the Beloit Fire Department, during the month of December, the Cunningham Cavalier Closet sustained significant flooding damage, which ruined a large number of their coats and other items. Once the fire department heard of this, they stepped up and brought supplies and restocked the closet. And by the way, the story that was done on Spectrum News 1 about that as well. So Spectrum News 1 is a news program that goes out throughout the whole state. So the fire department was profiled on that and part of our district. So that was a nice touch to that as well. So thank you. Okay, the 2019 Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest winners from Aldrich, Anahi Elizabeth Arroyo, 6th grader. Congratulations. From the Beloit Learning Academy, Karia Garrett, a sophomore, and Angelica Kenyon, a senior. From Beloit Memorial High School, Karen Soto, a senior. From Cunningham, Caitlin Ford, a 6th grader. And I know some of the intermediate school students may not be able to attend. I've gotten some correspondence back from them because they have their conferences tonight, so some of them may not be here. Kader Abdallah, an 8th grader from Cunningham. Sarah Ramsden, a 7th grader from Fruzen. Michael Nora, a 5th grader from McNeil. Treyanne Metzger, a 6th grader from McNeil. And Madison Miller, an 8th grader from McNeil. From Gaston, we had Leela Rudolph, a 3rd grader. We had Maddox Hatch, a 3rd grader. And Kylia Garcia, a 3rd grader, all from Gaston. From Robinson, Fazion Hughes, James, a 3rd grader. And then from Todd, we had Soria Hibbler, a 2nd grader. Congratulations to all those students. And our first gentleman for February contacted me. He said, unfortunately, he was unable to be here tonight, but we're going to recognize Mike Wagner. He is a teacher over at Memorial High School. Mike recently became certified by the Wood Career Alliance, or WCA, as an evaluator. The significance of this is that his certification will allow him now to be able to award WCA credentials to his students at Beloit Memorial High School. And then these students can take their credentials with them to a college, university, or a technical college. So it's a very neat thing to have for our school district, and we really appreciate that Mr. Wagner went to seek this out for himself and for our students. We have Ben Levy, Amaya Bessel, and Kate Gianvecchio. They were all named academic All-Americans by the National Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association. So not only are they taking care of their business in the pool, they are also taking care of the business in the classroom. So that is a very nice award for them. And then we had Nathan Sill. He is recognized by the Wisconsin Swim Coaches Association as an academic all-state swimmer. So congratulations to Nathan. I think I gave you Nathan's award. Should be the bottom one on there. Sorry about that. And significance that Beloit Memorial High School's boys and girls swim and dive teams, their GPA qualified them for the NISCA Academic Gold Award. This is the 16th consecutive year that both teams have earned this honor. I'd like to recognize Coach Richard Vogel, who is the boys' head coach, Kim Waite, who is the girls' head coach, as well as Brian Michaels and Benji Klett, who are assistant coaches for the swimming teams. So I'd like to recognize them for that.
Just to clarify a little bit, 16 years for the girls. The guys have only won it twice, and this was the second time. But they're all looking at me like, really? We're that smart? But they have won at least the silver or the bronze during that period of time as well. So we're not just killing it in the pool, we're also killing it in the classroom as well. In fact, we're really proud this year. I think on the guys' team we had 7 4.0s. And we had Ben Levy and KG and Vecchio are both 4.0, going to real nice school. Well, everyone's going to good schools. Ben, you're going to McAllister. And Kate right now is between Rice University, Texas Tech, and Wake Forest. And Amaya, the last time I talked to her, she was going to UW-Eau Claire. Nathan, Beloit College. Max, have you chose a school yet? All right. Yeah, I know he's between Beloit College and Monmouth. And did I forget anybody? I don't think so. But we're really proud of where our kids go and how hard they work, not just in the pool, but in the classroom. And we hope to keep that going. I mean, I know the girls feel the pressure every year. We don't want to be the class that never wins the gold, because we've won it every year since they've been giving the awards, so it's pretty cool. We're running a few schools in the country that do that. And there's 16,000 schools in the United States that have swimming. And our men and women are always somewhere in that top 100, which is really cool.
I would also like to recognize the following boys swimmers for qualifying for the WIAA Boys State Swimming and Diving Meet, which was held in Madison on February 15th and 16th. Ben Levy, Max Saladar, Nathan Sill, CJ Light, Anthony Jacobson, Ben Saladar, Caleb Otto, Yvonne Perez, Jack Johnson, Matt Locke, Kana Wong, Eli Miller, and then, of course, Coach Vogel for overseeing the whole program. Yeah, you each get one. Congratulations on your qualifying for state. All right, I don't know if Tyler made it here tonight, but I would also like to recognize Tyler Cerici. He qualified for the WIA Individual State Wrestling Tournament, which was held this past weekend at the Kohl Center in Madison. Tyler competed in the 195-pound weight class. The following students have been chosen as Avid Students of the Month for December. Amanda Fear of Aldrich Intermediate, Paige Lathrop of Cunningham Intermediate, Cassandra Rice of Fruzen Intermediate, Tiffany Schwen of McNeil Intermediate, Tyree Gamble of Beloit Memorial High School, And then we had staff members chosen as teachers of the month, Charles Smith from Cunningham Intermediate and Eric Stibbe from Beloit Memorial High School. Congratulations. And then finally, the Beloit Memorial High School Jazz Band. For the 8th time in the past 11 years, the Beloit Memorial High School Jazz Band has been chosen to compete and participate in the Essentially Ellington High School Jazz Band Competition and Festival. This year's festival is May 9th through the 11th. It's going to be held at the Lincoln Center in New York City. Mr. Christopher Behrens is the teacher, and here's the list of students in the jazz band. Abigail Wolf, Carly Behrens, Claire Boggs, August Bratz, Riley DeLuigi, Sydney Galvin, Olivia Garcia, Adam Hobson, Jameson Hosey, Jack Johnson, Caitlin Landon, Evan Lagone, Lucas Lawn Smith, Benjamin Levy, Ariana Marco, Audrey McManigal, Piper Mitchell, Madeline Miller, Caleb Otto, Naomi Patton, Noah Pepping, Hannah Cerici, Brandon Terwillinger, Jason Watkins, Hannah Wilson, and Hannah Wolf, all members of the jazz band that will be competing in May in New York City.
Are any here this evening? Oh, come on up.
I know several of them had said they had to be at practice for the musical, so I'll hand out the ones that are here for them. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I did forget one thing. I apologize. The Beloit Memorial High School art students. Alexis Bell, M. Johns, Isaac Pulliam, Michaela Lloyd, and Duncan Woody. They all earned awards at the recent Scholastic Art Awards competition. Isaac Pulliam of Beloit Memorial won 2 Gold Key Awards, qualifying him for pieces to be hung in the Milwaukee Art Museum. Kasumi Montiel Reyes won first place in a local art show for Representative Mark Pocan. Her work is being displayed in the Cannon Tunnel, which connects the Cannon Office House building with the U.S. Capitol. Matthew Wick also performed his original rap based on Thomas Paine's Common Sense. He did this on stage in Chicago for the musical Hamilton. And their teacher is Ms. Elizabeth Carpenter, who emailed me and said, unfortunately, she had a little accident on the ice just after school, so she wouldn't be able to make it tonight. And that is all of the students with awards.
Can I just say, you guys are really, you're amazing. The art students, I follow you on your Facebook page and go to your shows, and I am just blown away. I mean it. It's amazing. I'm so proud of all of you. And there's an art exhibit this Friday at the what was the Art Incubator, now it's the Beloit Art Center, correct? I think. Hope I have that right. But one of your students will have an exhibit there this Friday, and I really hope people can turn out. And there's hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and it's a very nice event, 5 to 8 p.m. Your teacher, Ms. Carpenter, wanted me to tell you, of course, you know how proud she is of you, and we are as well. And tonight we saw so many things to be proud of. The jazz band for the 8th time out of 11 years, your group of artists, all of the athletes and the scholars, and we're extremely proud of everyone that was awarded and recognized tonight. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you. Okay, do we Do we have anyone here tonight that would like to make a public comment at the podium? Anyone here that wishes to speak this evening? Looks like we do. No? Okay. You almost had to speak. Okay, so I won't read this if we don't have anyone. All right, and the next thing on the agenda is, let me go back here, Superintendent's presentation, Challenge Academy. And that is? Mr. Kaminsky, yes. Thank you. Sure.
Well, I don't know about that. Must be my baseball coach or something. It was running.
And I'm Susan Bailey over here. Hi.
Good evening, Board of Education. Sue Bailey and I are going to present on the Challenge Academy program. And I always love win-win situations where you have students that are going to have an opportunity to get a diploma, a second chance. You've got parents who get a chance to see their student walk across the stage. And also you have a community that now has someone who's a productive citizen that has a diploma, can be employable in our area. So what is the Challenge Academy? What is it exactly? How does this work? It is like a quasi-military program. I mean, the students, you can see they wear the uniform. It's very structured. Their day is accounted for. No cell phones. I mean, they do corrective action. They have reward system. It's like being in the military. And what you see here is the age range is 16, 9 months to 18 years old. They qualify for the program. And it is a 3-phase program. The first phase is they go there for 5.5 months. The first part of the first 2 weeks is a pre-challenge. They can't talk to anybody for 2 weeks. And so they have to understand the discipline and structure that can be in place. And then after that, the rest of the 5 months, they switch over from being candidates to being cadets. And then the second or the third part of the area is where they is the post-residential. And that's 12 months. That's after they finish being at Fort McCoy. And what things that they are learning here, obviously they get their HSAD. That is an opportunity for them to get their GED by taking 4 tests in the core areas. They also get a Blakemore High School diploma. And not every school district recognizes the Challenge Academy program. We do as a district, and so they have a chance to walk across the stage. They also learn life skills, character, how to get along with people, leadership, and also service. They get back to the community. They go out to the vets. They do the nursing home, Special Olympics. So they are getting a wide range of skills within that 5.5 months. Sue, as you can jump in.
I just said elementary schools.
Yep. Come on there. Why do people apply? Why are they interested in the program? I think it's a second chance for students. At this point, they're short on credits. It could be attendance issues, discipline issues. They're struggling, and this is an opportunity to get a second chance. Also, self-discovery. I mean, they kind of find out who they are. It is a transformation. If you've talked to students that have come back, they're wearing the red shirts, it's yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And you'll see parents like, oh my gosh, what happened? It's because they realize the importance of taking care of themselves and other people as well. Now, if you look at this chart here, you will see the number of students that have finished the program. And this is the last 10 years as far as data. The last couple years, we've seen a big increase. Right now, we have 19 students that are there. And so we'll have 30 for the year if they all finish. You might ask, what is the success rate? Because the average for the state of Wisconsin, 2/3 of students finish the program from day one. Ours is about between 75 and 80%. So we feel pretty good about being way above the state average as far as students, not just beginning the program, but they finish the program.
But our actual graduation rate is much higher once they return. Regardless if sometimes they come back home, but they're still more motivated to actually finish and graduate because they come back stronger regardless. But our graduation rate is almost 100% once they finish the Challenge Academy.
And you might ask about the success rate as far as the why. Sue does a great job of making sure the kids, I mean, she meets with them. We all actually meet with them. We go up there twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. And I would invite any board member to go with us to get a sense of what the campus is about, what the expectations are. But Sue does a great job making sure those kids, they know what they have as far as their transcript. We go over their GED scores, making sure it's clear where they're at. We have a great relationship with Challenge Academy. They've come down to us a couple times and done some orientations with us. So we feel like we've built a great relationship with them. Again, that win-win we want to build. Accomplishments. Last fall, we had 11 out of 11 students that finished the program, so we feel good about the 100%. We've also, last 2 sessions, have had 2 students that have received the Distinguished Cadet Award. That's like the valedictorian. That means you're the top person in that class of students in the state of Wisconsin. And we feel very good about that. Isaiah Roundtree, he's now in the U.S. Marines. And Elite, she was supposed to come. She was here, ready to come last month. I know we had the snow and the cold weather. I believe she's still in Texas. I was trying to get a hold of Mom, trying to get her to speak about the program, because I think it's important that you see or get a chance to hear what it's like as a student going through those 5.5 months. We've also partnered up with the State Line Community Foundation. We received a grant 2 years ago. And that takes care of a lot of transportation costs. One of the things we don't want to hinder is students or parents saying, we can't get up there. We took a bus up there a couple years ago with like 30 students and parents, making sure they got there. We've also had given out gift cards for our mentors, gas, food cards, make sure that we kind of treat them. I mean, they spend 6 hours driving. They spend another 4 or 5 hours meeting with the students. They do that 3 times during the 5.5 months. And then after they get done, they meet every 2 weeks for a year to make sure they're checking on their students to see how things are going. So we want to make sure we build that relationship as far as with those mentors. I wish there was an article in the paper, I think it was about a month and a half ago. It talked about her success story, and it was a lifesaver for her. In fact, I'm her vice principal, and she got in a little bit of trouble, and she asked what are some options out there. And we know that option A is 26 credits. Most of the students that are at Blackmore High School are going to go with option A. Hey, this is the plan. I get my 26 credits, I walk across stage. And not everyone has that going for them. There are things that get in the way. And so we say there's option B out there. And this is one of those option Bs where, hey, I have a chance to get my diploma. I want to walk with my class. This is an opportunity for to do so. Yep. Program needs male mentors. I have plenty of female mentors. I've got a long list. We've kept a database over the years. We could use more male mentors. You have to be 25 years or older, so I'm looking at our board, the males, and you guys are all qualified for that. So I think it's a great experience. I've had a couple students. No doubt you would enjoy this experience. But also the research says it works. 2 years ago, Atlantic Magazine had an article that talked about Challenge Academy and said, this program works. And I want you to, if you get a chance, take a look at that, because I know you guys have access to this. It just talks about a lot of the mentoring programs that exist around the country. And I think Sue and I, the reason why we're passionate about the program, because it does work. We've seen the students change. We've seen them get a chance to get their diploma. I mean, bottom line is we want every student to be successful. We see students at the higher range. We have students that struggle. This is a program that does reach those kids that struggle. So go ahead.
Didn't really explain the whole mentoring program, but each cadet that attends, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, but each cadet that attends is required to have a mentor to be part of the program. And the mentor is just somebody that they can count on to write to them, to be supportive, to give them guidance, somebody that is outside of the family. It is, like Mr. Kaminsky said, it is for 12 months after they come back, a commitment, and it is 4 contacts a month, whether it's text, face-to-face, phone, just making sure they're okay and they're staying on the right path.
Are there any questions from board members? Jeff.
John, what is the academic day like for them then up there?
In terms of their core, what does it look like a day? They have their courses either in the morning. They'll have the core classes because they eventually have to pass those GED tests for those areas like your math, science, English, social studies. And in the afternoon, they do a lot of like soft skills. They do leadership stuff. So they work on resume building. They work on, what's that?
And PT.
PT. Oh, yes. They do a lot of You will see students, I mean, they'll lose 30, 40 pounds. It's changing how they do things as far as the physical, the mental, the emotional. They try to cover every area they can. And so the classes are, like I said, either morning or afternoon. They switch it off because there are girls up there as well as guys. And they split them up so they can't talk to each other at all. No, not at all. So, yeah, that's kind of how it works. And then their day is busy. I mean, they're up at 5 in the morning, and they're going to bed at 9 at night. I mean, it's a full day. I mean, they get the whole deal.
So it's 4 hours a day of academics, and it's their core areas. And they start them at very basic because everyone is at a different level. So they start them and as fast as they can move through. And when they get stuck, that's where they start the intense.
Okay. I want to take a quick commercial break here to say that we have a silver Mazda that has 2 cars blocked in. License plate ends in PRA. And I see someone leaving, so thank you.
You had mentioned,
Yep.
you had mentioned at the beginning they have to spend the first 2 weeks, they can't talk to anyone?
No, I mean, when you say, in terms of fraternize or talking to anybody else, they can't say anything. I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, it's like, wow. There's no phones. They get 10 minutes on Sunday to call home. They write letters.
They earn extra time to call home on Sundays if they have good behavior or academically.
So for all the time they're up there, they don't see their family, or they?
No, they don't, because it's residential, so they're 5.5 months. They get a couple leaves to come home. And
2 leaves to come home.
Okay. And then I had a question about the funding. Do we pay for this, or how
it's
is it
all,
funded?
it's National Guard, so it's
National
a federal program. It doesn't cost the student anything.
Wonderful.
Part of our school's funding goes there, yeah.
Part of our school funding goes to
I
it?
think a portion of it.
I don't know what, I just know it's a program that's a federal program that, because any student in the state of Wisconsin that's having some issues, at-risk behaviors, they have an opportunity to go to the Challenge Academy. Usually they get about 130, 140 as far as the whole state of Wisconsin. So you get an idea that, you know, we're going to have 30 this year.
And who makes the recommendation for a student to go to Challenge Academy?
It's one of those conversations that the counselor or the vice principal talks to the student and figures out, if you're a junior and you've got 3 credits, let's see the math. You need 23 more credits, probably need to look at option B.
It's really a great graduation pathway that we have in our district. I mean, we have a lot of options for students, but for a lot of our students, this is one of the best, especially for stability and the housing and just having that consistency with no distractions. For a lot of our students, this is their best bet.
And one of the things we always are concerned about is when they get done with the program, we say you graduate on Saturday, that following Monday you're doing something that's called a PRAP, the post-residential plan. And so we connect with, like, we've had, I know BLA's involved, we've got community action, we have Career Tech. We use all the partners we can to make sure that kid, hey, at Monday, you're set up with something. If you're going to go to Blackhawk Tech, if you're going to go to 2-year like UROC, wherever you're going to go, if you're going to have a job, we want to make sure you're lined up.
Okay, so if someone wants to volunteer, they call you, Mr. Kaminsky?
Or, Sue, we'll definitely take male mentors. We need them.
Yeah.
Email.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking for my. Okay, the next item on the agenda will then be the student board member report.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have much of a report this month, hence the fact that this is the first week of school since, I don't know, a long time. But things are running smoothly at the high school. With all the commotion, with the rearrangements of staffs and snow days, we're adjusting well. However, senioritis is in full effect. But our seniors are still working hard, as you can see by the amount of awards presented tonight. BMHS just received its Gold Star recognition for guaranteeing that 100% of students will receive personal finance instruction by 2030. So that's good. And that's about it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the student, anyone? Okay. All right. Next, we have the fiscal committee report. Ms. Gard.
The fiscal committee met on February 13th at 5 p.m. here at the Colac Center. And we had a report from Mr. Bonds and Ms. Haar, who were requesting some math materials. These math materials were curriculum that would align the curriculum in grades K through 12, and the board approved the purchase of those materials. And the materials come in hardcover, and they're also available online. We also reviewed purchase orders between $15,000 and $25,000. And then we had a lengthy presentation on the use of Fund 80. Fund 80, we're going to have another presentation a little bit later, but what the committee wanted to do is look at how different funds would affect the budget. And so we asked staff to come back with a proposal, and they came back with a youth sports and recreation proposal to present to the committee, and the committee asked that they present it to the full board tonight. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later. And then we also had a thorough discussion on Policy 830, which has to do with public use of schools and facilities. When you go on the website, there's a lot of information, but there is a policy that's been pretty outdated for a while. So we went through all of that, and that will be coming to the board tonight for, we're asking for approval for the first reading. The next fiscal board meeting will be on March 6th at 5 p.m. here at Colac. And if you're interested in joining one of our committees, this is one where we need members. So just contact the school, Michelle Schultz, or send an email to me, Nora Gard, and we'll see if we can have you join our committee through the process that we have. So, are there any questions?
No, and thank you, Ms. Gard.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Mr. Kyle Larson, if you could please present the staff committee.
Sure. The staff committee met on February 12th. We received 2 reports. The first one was on class size information, which was requested, and Mr. Bonds provided spreadsheets kind of outlining the workload for and class sizes for intermediate buildings, as well as the transfers in and outs for open enrollment. And after seeing that data, it looked like the workload for teachers across the buildings was pretty universal. There wasn't a building which seemed to have larger class sizes than the other intermediate buildings, as well as the open enroll ins and outs pretty much were a wash. So it wasn't as though one intermediate building was receiving a significantly larger amount of students than the other intermediate buildings. Then Ms. Carradine provided a staffing update. They finished up their first round of HR open hours in the buildings. She was attending a job fair on the 21st in Madison with Wisconsin universities and other schools, as well as a DPI training for licensing that all the administrators will be attending in March. And it will cover what is needed for all types of licensing. And on March 20th, a licensing training for teachers and citizens who may be applying for jobs will be held on March 20th, but then April 18th, there will be a job fair at BMHS where Aramark and Durham will be asked to participate as well. And the hope is to have on-site interviews. So if there are any community members who are interested in joining the district in any capacity, those are 2 dates to keep open. The third presentation we had was about professional development feedback. So Mr. Bonds provided the data. We had asked that we see the information that teachers had provided and staff had provided about the feedback going back the entire year from professional developments. And the committee noticed that there was a not allow participation in the surveys. So this is going to be my notice that the PD surveys are done through SurveyMonkey, which does not collect any personal information, so they're completely anonymous. And so I encourage all staff members to complete them so that the administration can better meet your needs. And that was pretty much the meeting. We will not be meeting in March. We will be meeting in April.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. And I will ask if anyone doesn't object, could we postpone the student committee and ad hoc committee, D&E, until Mr. Wong, he had to step out when he returns. If we could go down to... Okay, we'll announce that right at the end. Okay. We'll go ahead. Just make a quick announcement.
And our communications committee is meeting tomorrow at 4:30 at COLAC in room 106. And if there are any interested people that want to be part of that committee, contact Michelle Shope, and we'll get you on the team.
Okay, thank you. And then the next item is F, limited term placements, 1-year contracts. Do we have someone presenting that, Dr. Charles?
I think this is Tracy. Are you prepared on this?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ms. Carradine, what do we need to know about this?
So this is just to let you know of all the people who have 1-year contracts that are limited term, and their contracts will be ending at the end of the school year. And so this is just a list of the people.
Okay, and being renewed or not?
So what would need to happen is that their contracts will end, then we will have to post those jobs again, and then they will have to reapply. And as they reapply for another license.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, do we need to take action on this?
Just for information only.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gard has a question.
On the list, there are a couple of positions that are grant funded. Are you anticipating grants coming in to fund those positions next year, or?
I'll put it like this, we hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you do, would these same people be able to keep their job, or would they have to reapply?
For the grant funding, yeah, they were probably, depends on their license.
Okay.
If they're licensing on there, if they're on that list, then they have a 1 year, so they would have to reapply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we are to the next item, which is going to be the consent agenda. Correct. If I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Okay. Is there any discussion, or anyone have any questions about anything on the consent agenda? All right. All in favor of passing items A through E, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay. Consent agenda items pass, and now we are down to financial reports. Mr. Tome, do you want to present anything about the financial reports?
No, unless you have questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about the financial reports? Okay, and then we'll just move down, because I see that was part of the consent agenda, so excuse me. Move down to business agenda, board policy 830, facility use for first reading. I have asked I notified Michelle earlier that this was misplaced. It should have been on a special meeting for first reading. We do those on first reading, so could I have a motion to postpone this until the the second Tuesday meeting in March?
I move to postpone Board Policy 830 Facilities Use first reading until the special board meeting on March 12th.
Point of order. Your special meeting is on March 5th, not the 12th.
Well, are we having two?
No, because that's the chamber dinner.
Oh, darn. Okay, so March 5th.
So I would like to.
Thank you, Michelle.
To amend that to postpone Board Policy 830 Facilities Use first reading until our special board meeting March 5th.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, so the policy will be postponed until our March 5th special meeting. And next we have Community Recreation Fund 80. I'm still seeing that we have a couple of board members that had to step out momentarily, so maybe we could go to item E, policy and discussion for student desk cleaning. That's a quick one we can cover. Is there a motion for this policy for second reading, please?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Larson? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, the policy passes for second reading. And now we can go back to, let's see. Let's go to the next policy, F, policy 443.72, anti-bullying policy. Is there a motion to approve 443.72 for second reading, please?
I move approval of policy 443.72 anti-bullying second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the bullying
I
policy?
had one question when I looked at it. I think it had to do with school grounds on the bus. It didn't, I know it's a technicality, but if you're waiting for the bus, you're not on school grounds technically, you're not on the bus yet, do we have to make that notation, or will the assumption be made that if I'm in line to get on the bus and I'm being bullied, where am I at in this policy?
What page are you on?
I looked at it this afternoon, so I can't tell you.
Okay, Ms. Pels, are you able to address that?
Yes, we would consider that being as part of the environment of the bus, so that would be included within that language. We wouldn't delineate every single area in which bullying could occur.
There wouldn't be a technicality for someone to say that, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Klett and Ms. Pels. Okay, is there any other thing someone would like to bring up about this policy? We have a motion and a second. No more discussion. All in favor of the bullying policy for second reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, anti-bullying policy 443.72 passes unanimously. And we can now go to personnel employment recommendations. Is there a motion?
I move to postpone Exhibit A of the personnel recommendations until our March 5th special board meeting.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to postpone Exhibit A only. Are you moving approval of the rest?
Yes.
Could I offer an amendment to approve all of the rest except for Exhibit A?
Yes. I'm just wondering, would it be easier to just do that motion and then have a second motion approving the other ones?
We already have a second, though. So let's just,
Right, a new motion. So postpone Exhibit A and
Okay.
do a new motion.
that's fine.
That's how
Postpone
I-
Exhibit A.
and good
Okay.
plan.
So we will, the motion is to postpone Exhibit A. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, so Exhibit A is now postponed until March 5th. And now, could I get a motion on the balance of personnel recommendations?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Exhibit B. Move it forward for approval.
I have a question for Ms. Carradine. Do you need to make a motion on Exhibit C, or what did you say, yes or no? C was just for information. Okay, thank you.
So what is on the bottom? Is that something, does that need approval also in the administrative content? And how
No,
That's
no.
part of Exhibit A.
Okay.
That's part of A, correct.
All right, thank you.
We're only doing B.
Okay, so we have a motion, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on Exhibit B?
Was the motion made for B and C, or was the motion made for B?
B. I asked the question if we need C,
Okay.
and the answer was no. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay. Personnel Recs, Exhibit B has been approved unanimously. Now we will go to budget revisions, please. Item C. February budget adjustments. It looks like Mr. Tom is going to talk to us.
Okay, so this is mid-year revisions to the budget that is done annually. The biggest changes are to the grant programs. We find out some grant awards after the fact, so after you've already approved a budget in October, then more grants come through and we find out they're here. So the vast majority you can see on top are the adjustments to grants. And so there's about 10 of them there where we received additional money in total of $768,000. So you'll have an increase in revenue of $768,000, and then you'll be expending the grants as well in the same year. So your expenses are $768,000. So they balance themselves out. Then the other revisions, the per pupil aid adjustment is due to the enrollment count isn't ready. The count they use for that is not done by October, so it changes slightly. So in our case, it's a decrease of $49,704 of what we budgeted. And then the last piece was the common school funds, which are used for library funding. And those come from the state, and that comes later in the year. So we estimate, and then we get the final number. The final number this year was actually an increase of $38,113. So revenue will go up by that $38,000, but then we also add that to the library budget, so expenses would go up $38,113 budgeted expenses for the library. So in total, revenue is down $11,591, and the expenditures would be up to $38,113 for the common school funds. So the net is a change in the budget of about $27,000 out of the $91 million budget. So not a lot of a change. And then underneath, just a slight change to debt service. There was an $11 adjustment in the debt service. Yeah, you don't need all the detail, just the front page is fine. So, and then the detail is just how it gets published. So we'll publish the budget adjustments in the paper, and then there will be one more done. I believe you do one more in June, so we'll come back around again.
Okay. Are there any questions?
So Bob, there's nothing really unexpected in this report, right? I mean, it's pretty standard stuff.
Yep, yeah. Actually, very little change, so, yep.
Any, Mr. Larson?
So is this money that you had already planned on spending, but it's just the funding for it's coming from a different source?
Well, you can't count on spending it. I mean, everybody's got an idea that they know these grants are coming, you know, but you never know until you actually get the final letter saying, yes, you have the money. So at that point, they're grants that have happened year after year, so they're not new, but they come later. So they had a plan for what they were going to do with it if it was approved. Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. Do you need action on this?
Yeah, I believe normally you guys approve this, and then we'll publish it.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget revisions as presented.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of approving the February budget adjustments, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the February budget adjustments are approved unanimously. And now, Mr. Wong, we postponed your report on the student committee and also your ad hoc committee discipline and governance committee update, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Sure. Okay, we'll start with the Students Committee meeting. We met on February 12th, Tuesday at 4 p.m. We had light attendance, as we've had, I think, with a lot of meetings because of due to the weather. And we actually had a very short meeting. I think it was a record short meeting for us. We had, we went through the math curriculum, and Mr. Mons presented that, or that was presented as far as an update, updating the current materials that we do have for grades 6 through 8. So, and that was the, let's see, that was carried unanimously as far as the approval of updating the math materials. So that'll be, I believe that's going to be coming forth shortly. So that was actually the only topic that we had. We did actually, for future items, we're going to be talking about some of the food items, the 4K breakfast and some of the updates on that. And then also the how does Aramark improve the quality of the food that they are serving and come up with guidelines, and just talking about the food quality throughout the schools. So the meeting adjourned at 4:24. The next meeting, students meeting, will occur on March 12th at 4 p.m. at the Kolek Center. Then you wanted an update on the ad hoc committee.
Please.
The ad hoc committee has, as we had mentioned, we have broken up into, there's 3 different groups that we're working on right now. We have the primary group, which is the elementary schools. There's a survey that was sent out to staff members. We're trying to conduct or trying to figure out, determine what are the key issues within the elementary schools that are going on at this point that we need to be addressing. We'll be compiling that information and hopefully have something at the end of actually the next meeting for that. The intermediate schools continue to work. I apologize, I've been unable to attend those meetings due to other conflicts that I've had with other ad hoc meetings. So they continue to work. They have a pilot program that they are compiling together to present to the board. And then finally, the high school has been very active. We had a meeting, we've been meeting with administration there, and very productive meetings with the APs to outline an initiative for the 4th term that we're looking to bring forth. We're also looking at the long term. Jen Pepke and myself met a few weeks back, and we went over the complete revision of the code of conduct. Not only the revision of it, but I think more importantly, the presentation of it and training for the following year, and mandatory training throughout the district, and it'll be by buildings. So we're going to be bringing that forth hopefully soon. That'll be more of a long-range plan, and that'll happen for both. We're going to separate out the code of conduct between the elementary schools and the older kids at the high school and the intermediates. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions regarding the ad hoc committee? All right. We've jumped around quite a bit, but now we're going to go down to discuss item 7B, Community Recreation Fund 80 program. And Mr. Tom is going to be presenting that to us.
Okay, well, I'm going to start you off. The Fund 80 is something that has been around for at least 15 years now. It allows school districts to exceed the revenue limit so that they can fund community programs. And so in most cases you do youth sports or you do swimming lessons in the summer, District I was at, we did after school, pretty much it was an after school program where all the middle school and elementary school kids could stay at school, go to the gym. The YMCA came in and taught classes and had activities, and it helped parents who had to work until like 5, and they could pick up their kids then after the after school program. The one thing with it is it has to be open to all residents of your district, so even if they go to the parochial schools or they open enroll to a different school, they could come back and they can go into your recreation program, and it's open to everyone. So that's kind of the only difference in it. But the way it would work, too, and I wanted to be clear on this, is right now our revenue limit this year was the $77,869,000, which generated a mill rate of $11.73. So you paid $11.73 for every $1,000 of value on your house in school tax. So on an $80,000 house this year, you paid $938.40. So next year, what happens is that energy exemption program is falling off of the levy.
Mr.
And
Tom,
so-
could I interrupt 1 second,
Yep.
please? Is there a way to put this on the television screen
Oh,
for
I don't
people
know.
at home? It's just showing the speaker and not the chart. I know people like to follow what we're looking at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So the first column was where we're at this year. Then, so then next year, that energy exemption project falls off of the levy. We're projecting, now this is using projections, of course, saying, and on the bottom I noted, we're assuming we decline 300 students, the equalized value of the district stays the same, the state aid formula is frozen, nothing changes, and no big changes by the state to how they fund schools. So there are caveats, of course, in trying to project it, but $73 in the school tax next year. So one of the thoughts was, we've had the issue here in the past is the tax levy has been going up and down, and it's, you know, people would much rather have a steady tax levy. So what's going to happen in 2021 is now you're going to, the next year you're getting the state aid because you did that energy exemption project this year. In 2021, you won't get the aid because there's no more energy exemption project, and the levy's going to go back up. So people are going to go, what's going on? The levy's going like this. What can you do to control it? Well, one of the things we could do is to start the Fund 80, which would be to levy $250,000 next year. And if we do that, that would push the mill rate from 832 to 848. So a 16-cent change in the mill rate, or on your $80,000 home, about $13. So everybody would pay $13 more, and that would allow us to fund the Fund 80 program for community service. And then we'll be talking later about other things we can do to try and stabilize the tax levy and going forward. This is kind of a small piece, but it is one of the reasons why we're pursuing it, is that we could use it to stabilize the tax levy. And then obviously we think the community rec program would be a great thing to have. So for $13, we're thinking this would be a great way to start it. So why don't I take questions on the financial side, and then these guys are going to tell you about the program.
If I could just add one thing. Excuse me. The district receives, several of the schools in the district receive community learning center grants, and they've reapplied for them for next year, or in some cases perhaps newly applied for them for next year. These are federal 5-year funded grants, decreasing annually in terms of what the grant amount is. So for instance, if they give a $500,000 grant to a school for next year, the year following it may be down to $400,000, $350,000, and it decreases annually each of the 5 years as you go down. There is a requirement, however, for all of these grants, when they are awarded, that there is built into them some form of sustainability. And what I would suggest to you is that the Fund 80 support for the recreational programs provides the sustainability factor that might otherwise be missing in a district that's experiencing our level of open enrollment out and declining enrollment.
Can I ask could you tell me again, what do you mean by for $13?
If we levied an additional $250,000 next year for Fund 80, it would increase the tax bill on an $80,000 house by $13.
But then to continue the program, we have to levy it again every year.
Right.
And it will probably go up, of course, like everything does.
That would be up to you. You decide how much you want to levy into Fund 80 each year. So.
Well, I mean, costs for everything increase each year, it seems like, so we'd be committing to this basically every year.
Right. Yep. Well, I mean, if something horrible happened and the district's in dire financial straits, you can always end the program. I mean, there's nothing saying you have to provide community recreation.
Anyone have any questions? Ms. Gard?
Okay, on that mill rate, and you just mentioned going from 8.32 to 8.48 for that $13 a year more on an $80,000 home. So the next year, if we wanted to leave it at 8.48 instead of funding $250,000, we could also drop that amount to keep the mill rate even, couldn't we?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that it will go up every year.
No.
Okay.
The program would be, you'd have to approve it each year. It's part of
And
approving
so
your budget. Yep.
The thought is to keep that mill rate pretty steady, correct?
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mr. Klett?
I understand the thought process, but I've never heard of anybody complaining that their mill rate went down. And it's always a constant up and down a little bit. So, and I'm looking at a program that, are we going to start it and then 3 years drop it? Then what's the pushback from the community that we started a program, but now we're going to drop it? And at the same time, we're not going to get into this later on, our community partners like the YMCA and the Boys and State Girls Club that provide a lot of these programs, and they do grant free to those in poverty. Are we competing with our community partners for resources already available in the community for a program that might be temporary, all in the name of saying, well, we don't want the levy to completely drop down. We want to make sure it stays up. And so I have a concern with that, because my job is to represent the taxpayer of Beloit and the long-term tax ramifications. I took calls on the budget before, and we had that discussion about, well, it's going to go up $6 a week. And I had people call me, you guys don't understand, we're on a fixed budget, and anytime we can save $1 is $1 saved that we can spend. It might be taking my grandkids to a Happy Meal. Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but the idea of raising it just to raise it, or we got temporary fund money, but we got to take advantage of it because it's there. Do we really need that for the benefit of the community, or are we doing it because we want to keep the tax revenue rolling in? And that is my question on that. So I'm just throwing it out there to the board. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, but I also want to make sure that we're not cutting out our community partners and making enemies, because one of the things as a school district we should be looking to do is to make sure we enrich those community relationships and take advantage of the resources that we have in the community to be true partners moving forward. And if there's a way for this to work out that they are inclusive and it makes sense, okay, let's have that discussion. But I want to make it very clear where this board member is coming from on this when it's talking about tax dollars and community resources.
Anyone else? I have some other thoughts similar to Mr. Klett's, but I know you have many slides to go through, so.
Anthony and Joel will talk about the relations with State Line YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club. That's been, they've thought of that and they've talked to them, so they can go over that in their presentation.
And I've already gotten a call on that, by the way. So it'd be interesting what you're going to say versus what I heard. I don't want me to be adversarial with you, but I want to know I like you. Probably doesn't sound.
All right.
I'm here for the kids, so it's okay. So good evening.
Good evening.
On that note, right. So what does this all mean? So let's look at it. In practical terms, think about your before school and after school programming. Dr. Childs already shared a little bit of information regarding how we receive our COC funds. Before we receive several hundred more $1,000s than we used to the previous year to fund after-school programming. Our community believes that we should provide opportunities for students before school and after school to not only enrich their experience at school, but to also provide them with opportunities for exploration, creativity, and also physical outlets. We all know the research around engaging students. So one of the things that I've heard from the board for 4 years is, what are we going to do to increase student engagement? Well, providing them opportunities after school, before school, through youth sports and other recreation programs is one of those ways of doing that. So all we're saying is Fund 80 will support after school and before school programming. It would also support what other communities have access to. This is just an example of a school district or a community that offers activities through their recreation department. This just happens to be Mequon-Thiensville, but many districts offer this opportunity for their community and their students. And so we're just looking to provide that opportunity for our students here. It will be not only for our students who reside, who attend our school district, but other students who reside throughout the district. It would also and can be for others in terms of our senior citizens and other residents as we build the programming. The ask right now is for $250,000 to implement the programming through youth sports with the goal of increasing enrichment activities over time. Mr. Beard is going to share a little information regarding youth sports and some of the enrichment opportunities that we are looking to do. But I just wanted to just bring it home and put it where, as an entertainer that I listen to a lot, talks about put it where the goats can get it. We're talking about providing recreation opportunities for students. We're talking about providing after-school opportunities for our students, something that this community and parents value, and that's something that we're trying to accomplish. So, Mr. Beard, if you would like to come up here and share a little bit about what we are envisioning regarding the initial start of our recreation programming.
Good evening. Thank you. Okay, so when we're talking about our recreation department, we decided that a good spot to start would be youth sports. For me, that doesn't necessarily end there, but it's a good start because I wholeheartedly believe, passionately believe, that our community wants youth sports to get started for our youth. Our community is one of the few, in the area especially, that doesn't offer youth sports. When you're talking about intermediate, we have some sports that go on in our intermediate programs in our intermediate schools that last 6 weeks, that are good, that are getting better. But the opportunities that we provide for our youth when it comes to sports is very, very minimal when it comes to the opportunities that other students have in other districts. So I feel very passionately about that and trying to provide those opportunities. In no way are we trying to create enemies, with the YMCA. I meet with LaRon Lofton every week. I talk to him every week about what they're trying to do, how can we help. All the majority of the community resources are within the high school. So our high school is open Saturday mornings for youth basketball. They have complexes for the YMCA. We work with our football program, work with Boys and Girls State Line Community Club. So those relationships, those lines of communication are definitely open, and they're definitely active. And it's something that we can partner with, and it gives us a platform to partner at another level with those different entities. For example, when it comes back to youth sports, we can use Beloit Turner District, and we can use Janesville District, and I'll use the sport of basketball since our boys are playing tonight and tied right now in a tournament game, but for basketball, if you take a 7th grader in the Beloit School District student, let's just take Fruzen, over the course of a 6-week season, that student has access to 9 games. That same 7th grade student in the Turner District or the Janesville District, probably plays 40 over the course of a winter. You start adding that up, or by the time they get to high school, exponentially amount of experiences that student has in Janesville and Turner than our student has. Our numbers are dropping significantly in our sports. Swimming is flourishing, and I bring up swimming purposely because we would base a lot of our sports, our youth sports, based off the swimming program. Coach Vogel has figured it out. How do you do it? The head coach is involved all the way down to basically kindergarten almost, teaching them how to swim now, doing those things, and planting the seed to enjoy swimming, maybe even be competitive in swimming. A lot of our sports don't have that access, that they don't have that platform to do those types of things. So the Recreation to Fund 80, it would provide us a chance to do that, along with other things down the road, what we can do with our programming. So $250,000 is a big number, but it is to get us started. It is to get us started. I don't know where it would be in 2-3 years, but I do think that we would be able to provide some opportunities for different activities. Kids are connected to their school through their activities, through their sports, and I definitely believe that, and I think that is where we should go as a district to help our youth be engaged and be connected, but also have opportunities to better themselves and develop in something that they're passionate about. So some of the sports that we would get started. So we want to get our youth football program started. We like to get our youth basketball programs for girls and boys. Right now, as a current state of our girls basketball program, we did not have a freshman team, which is very disappointing. Our intermediate season for girls right now is going on. We have one team at some schools, usually have two, of 7th and 8th graders. We've entertained the question of adding 6th graders just to have a team. That is just that's not healthy for our sports programs. You might have to go to a different tab. Okay, so with elementary, what we like to do is we like to start some things to get our students engaged. For example, beginner soccer, that's just, maybe it's Pee Wee soccer. Maybe we could pair with the YMCA to get some things going and work with them and investigate that. As far as tennis, we don't have anything for tennis. Golf, we don't have anything. Softball, we don't have anything. Baseball, we don't have anything. Biking comes in from Rick Barter. I know he's really passionate about that, and that's something that we've talked about. The running club will be things that we have a running club at Ryan McReynolds School, and the kids love it. It is something that we can keep them engaged. It's something that's healthy. It's a healthy habit. We have a lot of students that are interested in dance, and the board games is something that is just engaging with our students and trying to get them connected to the school. When it comes to middle school, we have intermediate athletics. Our intermediate athletics start at 7th grade. So a student that comes into the intermediate school is at the school starting at the 4th grade all the way through the 8th grade and does not have any sports to participate other than wrestling and swimming. That is what we have right now as our intermediate athletics. These are some things that will allow them to get involved not only outside of their season but all throughout the year. A boys and girls basketball traveling team. That travel team will be able to participate during the winter, and those 40 games we're talking about that a student in Janesville or Turner would be participating in, we will now be able to have access to that. Youth football. Our youth football program right now in our intermediates play 6 games. This year, a few of those got canceled because of whatever reasons they got canceled. We are looking in, matter of fact, I have a meeting tomorrow to look at possibly having our teams play the schools that are within our conference if we're able to create our recreation department. Again, another running club in the middle school, boys and girls soccer club to get them started and maybe improve that. Girls and boys volleyball. That is another one where our girls volleyball program is really big. I had a matter of fact at Aldrich Intermediate School, we had the Black History Month program. I talked to a couple of students that I went to their classroom, and I asked, are you involved in sports? She said, yeah. And she said, I played volleyball. I was like, so have you played volleyball since the season? And she said, no. And I said, well, why not? Where am I going to play volleyball at? You know, I mean, I don't have that opportunity to play volleyball. I was like, well, do you want to play in high school? She was a 7th grader, and she's like, yeah, I want to play in high school. Well, this is kind of the things that you have to go in. And that's, again, that same 7th grader in a different school district is playing volleyball all the time. And all of these things our high school coaches can be involved with. They can be teaching skills. They can be teaching life skills. They can be teaching all kinds of things that come along with sport. But it also provides an opportunity for that student, that 7th grader, to come into the high school already having a connection with one of their coaches in the building. So there's another benefit of it. The same thing with the softball and the other sports that are available. The high school, when it comes to recreation, this is all our summer stuff. This is all the things that we could access as far as summer programming for our high school kids, and that is because of WIA rules that we cannot provide anything throughout the year. Contact and all those types of things are limited. Right now, again, it comes back to the opportunities. Our high school basketball teams and volleyball teams are playing summer leagues. That's usually once a week. Once that season's over, that's over. That's about probably 15 games. I talked to Matt Parker, who is the district athletic director down in Rockford, and researching things. And what do you guys do as far as summer activities for your high school? Well, our summer teams play usually in 2 summer leagues. They go to team camps. They do these different things. At the end of the day, they play basically a whole season by the time June's over. Again, it's not giving our opportunity for our student athletes to grow and get better. And the same thing, wrestling, softball, baseball, track, and soccer. These are all sports that right now don't have opportunities unless our students pay to play. And I just don't think that that's the route for us to go, for them to participate in the summer sports. So that is a quick overhaul of the sports that we would like to offer. Moving into next year and looking at what are the next steps that our community would love for us to offer as a school district, providing that survey out to the district or to the community to get those answers to see what else we can provide to our community as far as community service is concerned.
So you also have been provided an overview. So the overview for all of the sports that Mr. Beard has just went through will cover things like operations and busing. One of the things that we know our students are challenged with in the summertime, and even for the travel teams, are transportation. So we want to make sure that our students have that opportunity. It will pay for support staff to coordinate those activities and also for the programming that has been mentioned. So at the end of the day, again, one of our goals, our primary goal, is to increase student engagement, provide opportunities for our community to participate in youth sports and recreation. Questions?
Have you done an analysis of the, with the students, with the population of Beloit to determine, I was going through this and looking at some of the sports, lacrosse and things like that I'm like, okay, yeah, I've never seen that in Beloit. Is there a willingness to, are we going to be able to fill these teams? Are you going to be able to have 60 kids for the football? That's one question. The second one is in regards to the equipment. I'm assuming that some of these costs are going to be a one-time expense for the first year, unless the program grows, of course. Then you might have additional expenses down the road. So those, I guess I'd start with those two.
Absolutely. Lacrosse, a lot of those, like lacrosse would be like a club sport. That would be something to grow into. It's not a WIA sanctioned sport. It is an activity that I've had a couple students come to me and ask, well, why don't we offer lacrosse? Janesville offers lacrosse, Middleton offers lacrosse, Verona offers lacrosse. So it's an opportunity. So that's where that's coming from. I've had some interest from students that are interested in lacrosse, and this will give them an opportunity to get started. The equipment that comes along with that would allow other students to get maybe an interest in that. Lacrosse goes hand in hand with hockey as well because it's kind of the same type of game. But the sticks are different. The equipment is different. Maybe there might be a hockey player that might be interested in lacrosse and participate in that as well. That is kind of where that comes from, and the other opportunities for other students to get involved, to maybe even try, to grow some things. Football, there's a lot of interest in football. That's a different avenue. I think that we definitely have interest in football. It would allow us to open up football, not only 7th and 8th grade, but all the way down to 5th grade, maybe even 4th grade, to engage that student that's in the intermediate right away and to get them involved. So the numbers, I would expect them to increase a lot, especially in football.
But we don't have there's no surveys that have been done to determine if there's a true interest out there. I mean, I'm guessing there is, I'm assuming there is, but
we don't have raw data. I have numbers from previous seasons that says, we've had a youth football program this year. We had our intermediate. We would combine with the youth football, which is the Boys and Girls Club. We've had numerous conversations that we should combine and work together so our kids play as Beloit. So bringing those two numbers along, I feel confident that we would have the numbers to participate in football.
Mr. Klett?
I'd have to see a whole lot more. I really would. I'd have to see the Boys and Girls Club sitting down with us, the YMCA sitting down with us. The swim program is started by Mr. Vogel. That's Senator Kruger. That's a pay program. He started that. It was his initiative to do that. And as a person that used to run the BATS program, there's an initiative done from the community. There are scholarships for that. You mentioned traveling teams. Traveling teams tend to be your elite athletes, which is not recreation. That's more of you're the best of the best. And when you get a traveling team involved with other kids that are at a lower level, I would have concerns on that. So I'd really need to see more of what is this program really going to look like. I'd like to see the surveys of the students and the parents as to what's your interest in participation. But more importantly, I'd like to see the communication that's taking place with the Boys and Girls Club and with the State Line YMCA as to our partners in the community now. Because are we doing this because we can get tax revenue, or are we doing this because there really is a genuine interest in the community? And is the interest really in the development of all students, or is it in the development of trying to get a better basketball team? Because we're going to have a traveling team that plays more games. And then are your coaches really going to be the coaches in the summer that are going to be the coaches that actually do the coaching during the school year? Because part of the problem in Beloit has always been that you don't have a program that starts in middle school with a coaching philosophy that's the same at the high school. And so I'm learning this system here, and then I got to learn this system here, and so there's no continuity. So I agree with some of the stuff you're saying, don't get me wrong, but I would need to see a whole lot more of what this thing would look like and the true interest in the community, and with the community input from all parties that would be involved. Because I also know there's a recruiting effort here that if you can do this, I'm going to talk about both sides of my mouth, man, because I'm good at it. Because if you do have these programs in the summer, you do get kids engaged, and maybe during the open enrollment period, you say, oh, you know what, I got to play sports at Beloit and got to know some of the kids. I want to go to Beloit High School. So I'm talking about both sides of my mouth. I get it. But I kind of like to see data and stuff like that as well before we go to the taxpayer and say we want to.
Mr. Wilson?
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for putting the time into doing this. And just from my perspective, I definitely love the idea of providing opportunities for students to be successful. Obviously we struggle as a district in many levels, many areas, and I think that providing opportunities similar to this, if our district has the means and the capacity to do so, and Joe's back is strong enough to put a program on it, then I'm definitely glad to support the work that you guys have already been doing and will continue to do. I just happen to know some of the work that you guys have been doing, and I just want to commend you on it. But I definitely think that the opportunities that you're trying to provide would definitely put the community of Beloit on the same playing field as the communities that we compete against and get our faces kicked in by. And it's not just about sports. For me, I think it's about building our kids up from where they're at, and again, providing opportunities that, in Beloit we've never had, but that doesn't erase the fact that we've needed this kind of program, since I was a kid. I could have been a fantastic athlete, but there was no programs. There was no programs to support me like this. I had to work through high school, but I think that programs like this are why, I make so much money refereeing basketball in other communities and not in Beloit, and that's just a fact. And seeing when basketball tournaments, and I tell people I'm from Beloit, and Beloit doesn't have an age group to represent in this tournament, and that's just what it is. And so I definitely think Beloit is behind as far as opportunities, but in recreation and academics specifically. I like your idea.
Mr. Wong?
I would agree with both of what they said. I think that we have been falling behind big time. And it's pretty sad when you start to see, and it's not, I think that there's a big disconnect between families as well, and I think we're missing out on an opportunity here to connect the families in more with the coaching, and sports is something that does bring families together. And I would hope that there's a lot of kids out there that, rather than have them getting into trouble during the summer months or during the off hours, if they're participating and actively involved in some type of team activity, perhaps we can help them to build better qualities that way. So I think that there's a lot. I would agree that I think we need to have a little more data. I think that looking at partnerships that we can have in the area to grow that. I'm not against a levy, and I'm not afraid to tell people that. I think that sometimes if you're going to have good programs, you got to be willing to put up some money. And I think that for what we're talking about here, you're talking $13 per household, or for average house in the city of Beloit. To have a successful program and to build the community in a better way, I don't think it's a large price to pay.
Ms. Gard?
I just would like to thank you too for the work you put into this presentation. The discussion has to start somewhere, and you took a vision and a suggestion to kind of put some meat around it so we could kind of feel what it's all about. For those who are watching tonight, just so you know, if you look at Wisconsin Statute 120, 10 through point 13, it gives all the criteria for what Fund 80 can do and should do for your school district. And I would like to also say, and we've talked about this in committee, the partnerships with our Boys and Girls, State Line Boys and Girls Club in the Y. And I know you have had those discussions, but maybe to clarify what those partnerships would look like would be helpful. And then I just would like to finally comment on some of the things that came up in our committee, and that is some of our committee members remember in Beloit when there were more recreational programming offered at in our schools, or like summertime playground activities, and that is part of the reason why our fiscal committee really wanted you to kind of put together your vision so that we could present it tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity. And that is our goal. Our goal is truly to provide opportunities. Everyone is speaking to it. Our goal is to really give our students an opportunity to participate in sports they might not otherwise participate in, to participate when it's developed in activities at their school site, such as yoga and cooking classes and things of that nature, right at their school, in walking distance to them. So that is the impetus. There are needs in the community. We all know this, and the needs are great, and we are striving our best to be great partners with the community. And hear me, we are truly wanting and desiring to partner with the community to meet the needs of our students and the community at large. And so we're going to continue to do that. There will be surveys given to families soliciting their input on activities and events that they would like to participate in, or sports that they would like to participate in. All those things will happen. Today was just to start the conversation, to seek guidance from the board on next steps so that we can pursue this, because the needs are great in our community and we want our students to be successful.
Yeah, well, and then I will after you, sure.
It's interesting, Anthony, because having grown up here, there used to be a strong summer program with each of the elementary schools. where you could go and play stickball, hit the ball around, play softball, and do things. And I don't know what happened to it, why it died, but it did give school pride. I talk on both sides of the mouth because I want to consider all sides, because as a kid, I loved those opportunities to go to Converse School in the summer and be there at 8 o'clock in the morning and come home at 4 in the afternoon. And we got away from that. And I don't know why. Historically, we can look back and say, what happened to that program? The other thing that used to be interesting in Beloit that you don't see anymore is you had organized basketball in the 4th, 5th, 6th grade. You had speedball, softball. The schools played against each other, and you got that community pride. If you talk to kids of my generation, we'll gravitate to our elementary school because that's where it all started. Because you're talking about youth. I mean, you do get a bond there. So I asked you some challenging things tonight. I don't want you to think that, because I grew up in this town when athletics was a huge part of this community and the successes that we had back in the 60s and 70s, and we haven't seen it since. But going back in time, we had organized sports in the schools at all times. And so I don't want you to leave them, God, that Mr. Glenn, well, I won't say it. You probably were thinking when I was talking, but because I'm all about that. I want to make sure we do it the right way.
Absolutely. And when we talked with the city, they were all supportive of the school pulling in and taking on the youth sports. We met with them, and they are the ones who said it's perfect for the school district to take on the youth sports and activities. And so we are trying to do exactly that. During that meeting, I remember he was going into some fond memories of youth football. And he's just talking about like what happened to the feeder program or the youth sports football programming, and he just went on and on about it. And those are the kind of things that we're trying to bring back. Again, Beloit has a lot of things that's to be proud of in terms of some of its sports programming and other arts that we should be definitely proud of. But we were a powerhouse in sports, and this was strategic. We chose sports for a reason, because we do want to build feeder teams. Again, it's just not our students, it's open to the community. So anyone who resides in the community can participate in it. But it was strategic because we wanted to start those feeder programs and provide our students with opportunities that, again, they wouldn't otherwise have. Our students don't play tennis every day. They don't play golf every day. We want to provide them with exposure to those sports in elementary school that other students and other communities get to do each and every day. That's our goal.
Okay, I have a couple questions myself. One of them is, you started off saying this is going to stabilize our levy a bit. But now that we're not doing revenue limit exemptions anymore, that funding is that reimbursement from the state is dropping off, and that was huge. So we're going to have to make up for it in funding on the levy, correct?
Yeah, the year after next.
Right. So maybe this year this looks good, but I don't know about all future years. And my concern is just if we start something like this, I don't want to have to discontinue it. And I don't think we would want to. And then what do we do? What do we cut then? You also said that you had some other ideas on how to stabilize the levy. I'd like to hear those, along with more details on this plan. I'd like to hear what else we can do. Because, sure, we need more activities for kids. I'm all for it. We need more sports, more after-school and summer activities. But we also need better education. So is there something we can be doing to stabilize the levy that's going to actually bring more teachers in or bring more help for our students on the academic side? Something that occurred to me because we're talking about the 2.0 thing is how much time would these programs take from kids during the school year, and would we have any say over who could participate as far as like the GPA goes? So I guess that pretty much sums up my concerns. I don't want to start this and then be forced to stop it, or worse than that, and another program that's really helping academically because we started this. So I need to find out more about what other programs we can use to stabilize the levy, because I get that. But I also don't think people, like Mr. Klett said, people aren't going to complain that the levy went down one year, but it could go up the next. So when it goes up the next, what's going to happen? We still have to add $250,000 on. I think we need to talk about that as well as the other options. So we'll just have this back on the agenda soon, I imagine, for more discussion.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item. So now we're back down to section, pardon? Future agenda items, right. Who has future agenda items they'd like to bring up? Mr. Klett?
I'd like an update. I know that Dr. Childs and Bob met with the city. An update on the March 5th meeting of where the negotiations are with the city. I understand we've got some concessions and also the safety fence.
Are those items you would like to have on the joint city council and board meeting?
No, I think I just had, for information from
Okay.
Dr. Childs and Bob on that 5th.
Okay. Anyone else have any suggestions? Okay. Future board meeting dates. Our next special meeting is going to be, as we discussed earlier, March 5th. And that was moved because of a Chamber of Commerce dinner on the 12th. So that will be our special board meeting for March. And the business meeting will be on March 26th at 7 p.m. Pardon? So you may not be. All right. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.